Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN Statewide News this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, a huge surprise for the job market. A new report shows work is returning after historic layoffs during the coronavirus pandemic. Diane King Hall has the very latest.
From restaurants in Washington, D.C. to Las Vegas casinos, businesses across the nation are back open and putting people back to work. The lifting of coronavirus shutdowns that started in May helped create a major turnaround for the job market. After 20.7 million Americans lost work in April, the Department of Labor says employers actually added 2.5 million jobs last month. That pushed the unemployment rate down from 14.7 to 13.3%.
This is a stunning reversal. We were expecting that the unemployment rate would rise to about 20%. Instead, the unemployment rate fell to 13.3%.
The President of the United States.
President Trump says the numbers show the economy is coming back.
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. And that strength let us get through this horrible pandemic, largely through.
But even as businesses bounce back, millions of Americans are still out of work.
Open up your trunk, thank you.
That's led to huge lines at food banks.
Yes, I'm here. I'm hungry.
Marcia Duckley lost her job in the hotel industry and is still waiting for an unemployment check. The latest numbers show the unemployment rate remains high for black workers.
Now I'm able to get some food to feed my children.
Experts say the road to a full economic recovery will likely be a long one. Diane King Hall, CBS News, Jersey City, New Jersey.
After a recent uptick in confirmed coronavirus cases in Bighorn County, today health officials there announced their first death due to the virus. Now, the case involved a man in his 60s. He is the 18th death across Montana. The state today reports 26 active cases in Bighorn County, 53 statewide. Well, Governor Steve Bullock has announced more financial opportunities under phase 2 of reopening. An additional $25 million will go to the Small Business Stabilization Program. Additional funding will also go to local governments. And Bullock introduced a grant aimed at helping small and medium-sized meat processors adapt to local supply demands. Now, the governor also promised free testing of asymptomatic people will be made available statewide. Well, more protests surrounding the death of George Floyd continue around the country and here in Montana today. A march is scheduled for this afternoon in Bozeman. That begins at 4 p.m. at Bogart Park. If you attend, you are expected to wear a mask. Now, organizers have also called off a planned Missoula rally tonight to mark the death of George Floyd. The Showing Up for Racial Justice Missoula rally had been planned for 5 p.m. at the Missoula County Courthouse. The event had seen a big response on social media with hundreds of people showing interest. In a post, organizers say the action would not support the safety and voices of the community in Missoula the way they had intended. Meanwhile, in Missoula, protests have been going on for almost a week now. The city's police chief says the police department will continue to protect people's right to protest. Chief Jason White says he planned to update the department's use of force and implicit bias training months ago and is now reaching out to diverse youth at the University of Montana for perspective.
We've had some great dialogue so far and hope to continue to build upon that, because I think this isn't a problem that any one person can solve. It's going to be something that we all have to solve together.
Now, Chief White also says there has been no spike in calls in response to the protests or the ongoing pandemic. In Whitefish, a man who police say became confrontational during a protest was removed from the scene Wednesday night. 51-year-old Jay Snowden of Whitefish is charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct. Whitefish PD notes that protests have been taking place since Monday night, with crowds of 60 to 70 people gathering next to Whitefish City Hall. Snowden is due to make his initial appearance on June 17th. And in Billings, protests are planned for Sunday, with local groups set to gather downtown. In a press conference yesterday, Police Chief Rich St. John condemned the actions of the Minnesota officers involved in Floyd's death. He said while rumors have been circulating on social media saying out-of-state riots will come to town to try to stir up violence, there is no credible threat. taking a strong stance in favor of Sunday's gathering. He said local authorities will be there to help leaders get their message across while ensuring safety.
Simply stated, law enforcement in Billings and Yellowstone County are fully supportive of peaceful protest. To anyone coming, know that we are doing everything we can to make sure that everyone's voices are heard, nobody's rights are infringed upon, and that whoever is protesting, whether they agree with one another or not, stays safe.
If you have any ill intentions or if you're coming just to rile things up, we ask that you please don't come. We don't want to take away from our forum, and we don't want to get off track on what we're really here to do, and that's to bring awareness and education to everybody in our community.
As of now, more than 900 people are committed to the event on the group's Facebook page, with another 1,800 interested. In other news, a 21-year-old Billings man has pleaded not guilty to charges of attempted deliberate homicide and robbery in connection with the shooting of a Butte man at McGruff Park back in April. Colby Clark is accused of shooting the 26-year-old man at least twice while robbing him. Clark was captured by police after a brief pursuit. The victim survived. Clark is also suspected in the fatal shooting of a Billings man on April 26th. Clark remains jailed in Butte on $1 million. And a man arrested at a Gallatin County fishing access site for wearing nothing but a straw hat. Court documents say 61-year-old Scott Thompson was spotted by witnesses stumbling around in the nude before getting behind the wheel of a pickup truck. When police found him, he was wearing a bandana with unbuttoned shorts and a shirt. But Thompson told deputies he was wearing a thong earlier. Officers say Thompson was drunk and has 6 prior DUI convictions, as well as other crimes dating back to 1987. His bond is set at $5,000 and his license is suspended. Well, it's now time to check in on the weather scene. Good afternoon, Ed. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're getting into the weekend, but we do have some hazards to talk about too. The green shaded areas on the map for today show where we have a marginal risk of strong to severe thunderstorms. The biggest concerns across Montana into the western Dakotas for today, small storms, but ones that could carry some heavy rain, gusty winds, small hail would be possible in a few isolated areas of large hail. Tomorrow, really look at those areas into South Dakota where there's a possibility of tornadoes and also some of those strong winds and hail that also will push into eastern Montana. So the yellow shaded areas, a higher risk, and that continues on Sunday as well with the possibility of the strongest storms across eastern Montana and into the Dakotas. Closer look at those details coming up.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, in early returns, they are in, and the first 3 days of reopening Montana's 3 Yellowstone National Park gates saw more than 7,000 vehicles come through. Now, that number represents 45% of traffic compared to those same dates last year. Now, May visitation through the Wyoming gates was 70% compared to 2019. Those Wyoming gates opened 2 weeks earlier on May 18th. Yellowstone reports 0 positive COVID-19 cases in the first round of employee testing. Well, we have more ahead on your noon news, more flights and more gambling. Vegas is open again. We'll have some details. The time now is 12:08, but first, meteorologist Ed McIntosh is back in with your statewide weather forecast.